Hi, Lise. Thank you for coming here. I'm a junior from New Canaan High School. So just to start off, tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. Thank you for interviewing this morning, having the time to meet this morning. And again, good luck to you in the rest of your junior year, and I hope that you have a very happy, stellar senior year. So a little bit about myself. I've been a member of St. Mark's Church for 30 years. I'm a native New Yorker, so living in Westchester County, I wanted to decide where to go to church. Growing up as a Baptist, I really was trying to find myself and find my way. And it was really a happy accident that I found St. Mark's. I was always raised to believe to find a church, you had to find a working church. And when I just came on to St. Mark's, I found it was a working church, and my early introduction was Mayfair. And from that point on, I was hooked into being part of this community. You know, I'm married, I have 2 adult children. They too have came to church. My son and my husband actually is a Catholic, studied Catholicism in his family, but now is a member of St. Mark's as well. And so we practice our faith in St. Mark's. So I have a background in education. I taught at King's School in Stamford, Connecticut for 15 years. I recently worked for a nonprofit in Stamford called Future 5, where I worked for low-income, first-generation high school students, helping them to advance to college and career. I recently left that, and now I am working as a consultant, a diversity equity consultant for Columbia Grammar Prep School in New York, as they work with trying to build more understanding of diversity, equity, and inclusion in their school. It's an independent day school in New York. My passion with my family, of course, is continuing on this work of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm blessed and fortunate that I have the opportunity to do that now.
Okay. What would you say your school experience was like when you were growing up?
So it's interesting you ask that, because I'm taking a course now that's asking that I look at my spiritual autobiography and to think about racism and inclusion in decades. So I'm a lot older than you. So I'm thinking about what was my first experience at 10 years old. And then I'm 20, and then 30, and 40, and on up. But my first experience was at 10 years old, where I was at a grammar school called Midland School in Rye, New York, because that's where I grew up. And I remember it was during Thanksgiving, and there were very few students of color in this school. My mother went to the school, her mother went to the school, and it was always 1 or 2 students of color. But I remember being in 4th grade, and it was a Thanksgiving play. And every year, we all look forward to being 4th graders and being in this play. And I remember my teacher, Miss Brockwell, pulling me out and asking me to play the role of an Indian. And I wasn't even disturbed by that. I thought I was still going to be in the play and didn't even think about, what she was asking me to do, being the only brown one in my 4th grade class. And so I remember Miss Brockwell giving me this costume, this brown costume. It was a dirty costume, if I need to mention. It was not, had been worn many, many times. And I remember taking that costume and bringing it home. But I was proud to bring it home because I was in the play. And I remember bringing it home and showing it to my mom, and she looked at it and she said, "There's no way you're going to wear this costume. I don't care if you're going to be in the play, but there's no way you're going to wear this costume." And I remember my mom taking me shopping for fabric to make a costume. And I remember going to the store and picking out this beautiful fabric and all the designs that went around it. But I was still afraid of her doing this because I had to go back and face my teacher with this costume. And I remember asking my mom, why are you doing this? Miss Brockwell's going to be so upset with me taking this costume. And she said to me, "If you're going to play the role of an Indian, you're going to be the best looking one on the stage." And that's my takeaway. And I had to walk with courage to confront my teacher, who was white, and say, "You know what, I'm happy to be your Indian, but I'm going to have to wear this costume." And so that was my first experience of knowing that, there's a difference. I was different. I was chosen because of the way I looked, but I had to have the courage to face that in spite of all. So when I think about experiences now, I'm thinking about 10, and I can remember 20 and I can remember 30 and 40, and it's really helping me have a better understanding of myself and of others. Going back to what Father Justin said this morning of, it's real life, real time. How are we going to do this? But we have to understand our past to move forward.
Thank you very much. Do you think there was one person in particular who helped you stay strong and focused?
Yes, my great-grandmother. She is still she's no longer here, but she was born free, first of 15 slaves in her family, and managed to achieve goodness and life. And her courage, what she had to do, a young girl traveling from Virginia to New York for a job, working in other folks' homes and taking care of them. And my great-grandmother was so powerful. She would save her money that she would make in, those diamond salt boxes kind of. I can remember seeing coins, lots of coins, and she would save her money, to be able to provide. She was my inspiration. See, I'm the first in my family to graduate from high school, college, and have a career and family. So if I think that there's anyone who's really been the rock was my great-grandmother and my mom. I was raised by women. I didn't have a dad in my life. He was alive, he just wasn't present. So I've had strong women to encourage me to get to where I need to be today.
Okay. What did you teach your own children about diversity?
So we are a biracial family. My husband's white. He's from the Midwest. And my children, identity was tough. And how do you identify when there's no box to check when you are black and white? And what we taught them was to be respectful of each other, respectful of others. I say stay with the process. Don't look for the solution. You're going to be in front of things. Don't try to get to the answer. Try to stay with it and understand. People are coming from different places. And, we have to have that kind of empathy and kindness and support. When my husband asked me to marry him, he asked me if I wanted a house or a ring. I took the house. You can't live in a ring. And it's interesting, when we went looking for a house, I asked him to bring my sister-in-law. And he said, why? And I said, I thought we're moving into this neighborhood. I don't want to be the one that, we can't live there. And he says, if they can't accept us as a couple, we're not living there. And so that's the way we've raised ourselves, we've raised our children. You have to feel safe to be in places where people embrace you. And if they don't, they have the courage to stay there. So it's interesting, they have a huge, diverse group of friends. And when you come to our home, when you come to a celebration in our home, it's something of everybody there. And how their friends feel so safe to be with us. That's beautiful. It doesn't matter if they're, Hispanic or Italian or Jewish. It doesn't matter. When they come to our home, they know it's a home that we're going to take care of each other.
How did you get involved in your mentorship experiences?
Well, I had someone mentor me. I didn't have the money to go to college. I had a dream, but I didn't have the money. And it happened to be a white family who was looking to sponsor a male of color to college. Couldn't find the male of color, but through my church identified me. And I had to convince this family that I was worth the money to go to college. And they did. They paid for my college education. I just had to maintain good grades. I was a lousy student to begin with, so I had to learn the hard way. But this family mentored me through my 4 years of college. And now it's almost become a natural that I want to give to others, as others have given to me. And so working for a school and then working again for a nonprofit and being again now in school, it's been a gift. And the beauty is that the college that I went to was so supportive. It was a junior college at the time. It's called Pine Manor. It's now a 4-year college. So supportive of my work that invited me to join their board of trustees. And I served as a vice chair for Pine Manor for 4 years. And just recently, I've been appointed to serve as a board member for Boston College. And that is, to me, is so wonderful. It's like every little thing, everyone who's come into my life along the way has been just encouraging me to do different things, try different things. And now I'm in another role to help others and mentor and bring them through. So, our gifts come in many ways. When I was 15, 16, in my 20s and 30s, I had no idea that it would be so fulfilling to be in this position and having the opportunities to give back.
Is there any person in particular you admire for their diversity work?
Yes, all of us. I don't think there's not one of us that's not doing this work. But I think about Brian Stevenson, the author of Just Mercy, and recently I heard one of his interviews, and he spoke about history. And if you think about what we're teaching, or what we're learning in schools is our history, and how those narratives are kind of, it's by the book. But what I enjoyed about reading about Just Mercy in his recent remarks is that he spoke about Germany, and he spoke about Berlin, and he spoke about his journey there. And when you visit, you don't see the statues of hate. You don't see the marks of hate. But not that they're removed, but everyone is taught their history, the real history. And I think that's what sticks with me, is that let's address our real history. It's not pretty in many ways, but acknowledging it will help us advance further and have a better understanding of how important it is that we have this understanding of diversity, equity, inclusion. With my children, I can remember one night, they were tiny, we were all in bed, and we all had our hands out like this. And my daughter saying, "You see, Mom, when you have our hands out like this, we all look the same. When you turn them over, yeah, it's a little different. But think of it this way, with palms open, we're all the same. We really have just different kind of lines, but basically, we're all the same."
How have the challenges you faced as a young person of color changed for you as an adult?
Oof. Well, so my maiden name is Chin. So you can imagine skin, chin. And anytime I came into an environment, even with school, I had to constantly prove who I was. There is no way you can be brown and having this Chinese name all the time since I was a little girl. And I had to get a little thick skin about it but I had to defend it all the time. And in my defensiveness, I had to learn to own it and be proud of it. And so I would say that was probably the hardest time for me, but not only with folks that were white, but folks that were brown, because I had, I was, having this Asian name with this brown skin, and then, the brown folks would think one way, and white folks would think another way. So I think it's been a journey. And I used to use Chin Leist. I just dropped the chin now, just keep the Leist. It's a lot easier for me, but I still own it. I guess, I don't know if that answered your question, is that?
So,
yeah.
What do you think, out of all the things you learned in your diversity studies, what do you think surprised you the most?
That's a very good question. That we start these conversations too late. Children learn about color and identity as early as 2 months. 2 months old. They learn differences early. And so what I am seeing is that how important the work is that we do it earlier. By the time you're in middle school and high school, you've already have your opinions are formed. Conversations are held at home. What you see on TV, what you do, it's formed early. So to me, the sooner we can have these conversations early enough, by the time they become young adults, they have an informed opinion. Because what I find with working with higher ed institutions, students are coming into these institutions and not prepared. And as a result, the work of helping them be prepared is on the colleges, and they don't have the time to do that, or the people power to do it. So the sooner that we can have these conversations in the earlier grades, pre-K on up, I think we're going to have a better adult coming through.
What is your main hope for the world today?
It's like that old, Elle movie, World Peace. I think on the heels again this morning, hearing about unity and what that looks like, but global, worldly unity. How can we be with one another and look at one another? There's been a benefit to these masks. I know they've been uncomfortable, but there's been a real benefit. because now we're finally looking at each other. Because you can look at blue eyes, brown eyes, dark eyes, but you can see a lot in someone's eyes. And I think for the first time in a long time, we're looking at each other, and we're looking at each other differently through our eyes, through the real eyes, as opposed to just over them. So I think that's been a blessing. To have someone recognize you if you haven't seen it in 10, 15 years, and the only way they can recognize you is through your eyes, there's something coming through.
So in terms of what you said of like unity and all coming together, what do you think we at St. Mark's can do to help make it happen?
You've already started. And the very fact that the clergy is very strong and passionate about this, that the Vestry is invested in having these conversations, it takes courage to lean in. It takes courage. And when you're doing it, sometimes you're alone. But that's not letting them stop the work. We've had these dinners with courageous conversations. We continue to have our understanding of seeking out other church leaders and groups to be more inclusive. It's a work in progress. When you think about the age of St. Mark's 253 some odd years ago, it did not look like this. And it was a totally different church and field. And I think that's why I spoke about the history. Looking at the history, the narratives of this land and where we are, and looking where we are now, there might be some folks 250 years ago saying, no, we don't want this. It's not part of who we are. It's not what we do. But the fact that we're going to take this church into the next 250 years of having different conversations, more inclusive, and having the courage to lean in. It's hard to lean in. It's hard to have it's messy work. Diversity work is messy. But, as John Lewis says, we're getting into good trouble. This is good trouble. And the incidents that happened last week, they had to happen, unfortunately, because now we're all on notice. The world is on notice. We have such a wonderful opportunity for us to be better, a lot better. And so that when you have your family, you can look back and say, wow, I was part of that movement. I was part of this, and look where we are now.
Throughout your career, how do you think your faith has helped you through your kind of struggles with this?
You have to have faith. I was born, in the Baptist church. So church started at 8 in the morning, and we didn't get out until late at night on Sunday. So it was part of what I grew up with. But I spoke about the spiritual autobiography that I'm on. I continue to explore my own understanding of faith. And maybe it's the age that's kicking in. I have more, faith security now, I would call it. But if you don't have that, what do you have? If you don't have faith, I never thought I would get into college. I never thought I'd be able to go. But I always prayed on things. I always prayed that I would have, the opportunity. I didn't pray for the financial pieces of it. I just prayed that give me the strength to do it. Give me the power to do it. And I do it every day. Every day. It's built into me that I have, in the morning when I wake, and before I go to bed at night, to be thankful and grateful for everything that I have. It's important. It's important that we all, regardless of your belief, to have faith. Because there is something stronger than us, for sure.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Do you think you have any kind of closing remarks, I'd say?
I'm just thrilled that we had this conversation, and I think that's part of the process when we think about healing, is having the courage. We didn't know each other until 30 minutes ago. I have a better understanding of you, and hopefully you have a better understanding of me, and that we all try to be better disciples of having the courage to do just what we did just now, inviting someone to the table to have a conversation, and that we walk away feeling a little more enlightened and happy, and knowing that, it is one conversation at a time.